I feel like there's a generation that feels ashamed of being American. And I really hope and pray that that turns around, that people really get to understand what it is we have here and what it is we do for the rest of the world. But why is Memorial Day so important?
Our longtime friend, Joe Mantegna, the actor, I'm going to steal a line from him because he's very much a supporter of Memorial Day and comes out to the National Memorial Day Parade every year. But he always says Memorial Day is the most important holiday of any that we have because it's the one that makes all the others possible.
Welcome to a really special episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. Please subscribe. Hit that button wherever you're listening or watching right now. Just make sure you never miss an episode. And this is special because we have Memorial Day coming up and we have the 80th anniversary of D-Day coming up. And lest we forget these great American soldiers, these men and women who served in what was maybe the biggest turning point in world history, World War II. We have a really special guest named Tim Holbert, and he is the president of American Veterans Center. And he has, I very rarely envy people's jobs. This guy gets to interview every existing living World War II vet that he can find and other American heroes, because we've had many military missions around the world, and he preserves their voices so we can reach out and listen and touch history through this organization. He's going to tell us all about it, plus the very special Memorial Day parade that is coming up that he is behind. And I think he's going to make you feel hopeful, nostalgic, and I hope patriotic. I'm proud to be living in the freest country on earth because of these people who serve us all the time. We are also really proud to be sponsored by XXXY Athletics. And this show is sponsored by Jennifer Say's company. You may know Jennifer Say. She's been on the show a number of times. She used to work for Levi's. And then she started speaking out against school closures during COVID. And she paid for it. But you know what? She ended up being right. She was also a world-class gymnast. She spoke out about the abuse that gymnasts were the victims of before most people did. And she paid for it, but she was right. And now, having done all of these things, protecting women's sports, running a world-class clothing brand, everything has come together for Jennifer Say with XXXY Athletics. Here's how you find them. This stuff is so high quality, so great looking. You're going to love it. And I've got a deal for you, which I'll tell you in a second. XX-XYathletics.com. When you buy from them, you are supporting women and girls in sports. Title IX just got gutted by the Biden administration. We hope that's going to get turned around here. But in the meantime, you can wear it on your sleeve, so to speak. XX-XYathletics.com. Use the code Michele75 and you will get 75 free shipping off orders of $75 or more. Michele75 at XX-XY Athletics. The stuff is great. The quality is superb. I mean, it's fantastic. And it supports something that's really, really important. Women as a sex class we're almost being eliminated here with allowing anyone who identifies as a woman to compete in women's sports. It's ridiculous. It's unfair. And someone is standing up for it, and you can align yourself with that company. XX-XYathletics.com. Go there, support women's sports, and support American values. And we're going to talk about Memorial Day, the 80th anniversary of D-Day. I can't wait for you to hear from our guest, Tim Holbert. He is next.
Welcome to the Michele Tafoya podcast.
Tim Holbert, welcome. This podcast is going to be for those people who are patriotic, like me and like you. I, maybe to a fault, I am patriotic. Can you be patriotic, Tim, to a fault?
I don't think so, no.
I think for me, I was raised to love America. My dad's family were immigrants, and so he understood how lucky he was to be here. And in spite of the fact that my parents endured the Great Depression when they were kids, they still felt America was the best country on earth. And I still believe that. I believe we are the last great hope. I believe there's something here for everybody. And I hear it again and again. What does it mean to you to be president of American Veterans Center?
Well, it really comes back to just being an honor. The people that we've gotten to know over the years, you talk about, believing in America, believing who we are, inspired by what has made this country great. I've gotten to live that now for 20 years, knowing, some of the greatest heroes remaining from World War II, actually the last living veteran of World War I, all the way down to the incredible men and women serving us today. So every day you just wake up motivated to do that one little bit more to try to preserve their stories and bring them out to the wider public.
Tom Brokaw famously called them the greatest generation, wrote a book about them. I mean, I think that everyone can agree. And I would encourage people to watch Band of Brothers on Netflix or wherever you can find it, to watch Masters of the Air, which Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg recently produced, which was kind of an offshoot of Band of Brothers. I had a friend who was a World War II vet. We lost him earlier than I would have liked, but he was a World War II vet, so he was getting up there. But he was so proud of his service, and he'd always stand on these 4th of July Day parade floats, these in this little tiny town that I live in, and wave. And he recommended Band of Brothers to me. And so these people are truly special. What kind of words do you use to describe what these conversations bring up in you when you talk to these veterans and you hear their stories?
Priceless moments. I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. And that's everything from, like you say, the Band of Brothers. We were lucky enough to know most of the real guys from Easy Company before their passing, down to the last one who just passed away a few years ago, all the way to people like my grandfather. So many of us can relate because of those family members who served. And of course, my grandfather being a part of that World War II generation and his war story was not anything, extraordinary, served in Europe, military police, but you could tell that there was always that little bit of pride of being a part of that. But not a gloating kind of pride or not an arrogance or anything, just a humble appreciation of having been a part of that and preserving, the country that we had and what they fought for and allowed all of us to live in and prosper in. So that priceless appreciation for those moments is really what matters the most.
It brings me to this question of today's heroes and veterans and soldiers who are serving all over the world. What do you think? How are they different and how are they the same?
Well, I think it really comes down in the end of what's the same are these personal relationships of what motivates each of them. Of course, we think of the larger question of patriotism and believing in our country and believing in each other. But it is coming down to believing in each other, those friendships, those personal relationships. That's in the end what motivate people is those personal relationships. And so you see that sort of strain throughout. Today's, and I heard this from the World War II generation as well, the men and women serving us today are extraordinary. The World War II generation was a citizen army of many draftees, many enlisted, but from all walks of life. Today, we have a volunteer force that is just unparalleled in terms of its professionalism and effectiveness. So that is, I think, what you really see is that admiration from the World War II generation of just how good today's generation really is. And today's generation, of course, we all look back to that greatest generation as the inspiration to drive us forward. So that's one of my favorite things that I get a chance to see is that mix of those generations of those last great heroes, 100 years old, down to the academy students from West Point, Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, stepping up. Just that continuation of something really special.
Our freedom of speech, our First Amendment is protected by the guys in uniform. Let's be honest. The military is what keeps us safe, what keeps us free. And at the heart of our democracy is that free speech principle. It's the cornerstone of every other freedom that we cherish. But here we are in a digital age, and discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being silenced or at least overshadowed in mainstream narratives. And that leaves a lot of you feeling voiceless in conversations, by the way, that are crucial to our financial independence and security. And this is where wealth protection research steps in. They are armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research is not a financial advisory firm. They're defenders of free speech. They're committed to giving a voice to the silenced. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. Now, these are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 Election Wealth Protection Report. This is a free report, and it highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money as we head into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and you as a listener can get it completely free by texting IDEAS, IDEAS, to 76626 for a free copy. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act right now. Text IDEAS to 76626 to get your free copy of this 2024 Election Protection Report. It's time to widen the scope of what we're told, to hear the ideas the establishment doesn't think you can handle, but you can, and to take control of our financial destinies. Text IDEAS to 76626 to claim your free copy now. I was fortunate to cover the NFL for about 30 years, and I'll never forget Pat Tillman responding to 9/11 by enlisting, he and his brother. It was just such an unbelievable demonstration of love of country, of feeling protective of the nation, of feeling like wanting to defend something that was really important to him. And I'm just wondering what you're seeing before we talk Memorial Day and D-Day, because we hear about the diminishing numbers of people going into the academies and entering the Marines and so forth. Is that something you feel can be turned around?
Absolutely, because I think there is such a hunger out there for aspirational stories. I always call our brand aspirational history, spotlighting these stories that, inspire us, that we want to be like, that motivate us to carry it forward. And you just see such a hunger out there in the public for these stories, for these people. And I think, the more that young people are exposed to that, the more they want to step up. And I think we're seeing that with people understanding, the pitfalls of social media and how it can, divide us and tap it. I think we're becoming a little bit more aware of what that's doing. And so that allows on the flip side for us to kind of come out and present these stories and these people that make people want to pick up that torch and serve. So I'm very confident and bullish on that future, because I just see how hungry people are for these stories and these people.
I was perusing the YouTube channel, and I was just, wow, look at the numbers of views these stories have had. It's very, very cool. That actually fueled me with a little more hope that people do want to listen to these stories, and they are compelling, and they're beautiful, and they're stunning, and they bring out all kinds of emotions. And, I feel like these holidays, like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, have sort of gotten a little bit lost lately in this recent, all I can call it is, I feel like there's a generation that feels ashamed of being American. And I really hope and pray that turns around, that people really get to understand what it is we have here and what it is we do for the rest of the world. But why is Memorial Day so important?
Our longtime friend, Joe Mantegna, the actor, I'm going to steal a line from him because he's very much a supporter of Memorial Day and comes out to the National Memorial Day Parade every year. But he always says Memorial Day is the most important holiday of any that we have, because it's the one that makes all the others possible. That's the day that we're remembering the sacrifices made by so many generations before, and then in the most recent generation. So having that day where we come together, and it can be, through all kinds of ways. It can be from, going and visiting a cemetery or solemn tributes, to things like Memorial Day parades, which have been a tradition going back since the start of the holiday 150 years ago. But coming together, having those places where we can publicly say, hey, it's important today to remember those sacrifices. We find that very inspiring, and people, again, I come back to their hunger for it. They do turn out and wanting to celebrate or commemorate the day.
You really do have the good fortune of being associated with this parade in DC. What can we expect this year?
Well, the National Memorial Day Parade has become the largest Memorial Day event in the country. Some 250,000 spectators out every year, nationally televised on network affiliates across the country. This year, very special, obviously. The 80th anniversary of D-Day comes just 1 week after Memorial Day. And so these are our last moments. It's understood from the commemorations over in France, across the board, that this is the last major anniversary where you'll see appreciable numbers of World War II veterans turning out. Mm-hmm. And so this year we'll have almost 24 World War II veterans, all about 100 years old or older, serving as grand marshals, in honor of all 16 million who served. This is also the 20th anniversary of the dedication of the World War II Memorial, which happened back in Memorial Day weekend.
A beautiful memorial, by the way. If people haven't gotten to visit it, they absolutely should. Absolutely.
And that weekend 20 years ago, there were still 4 million World War II veterans alive out of the 16 million. And so we think, it feels, to many of us, it feels like yesterday, but now there's only about 100,000 left of those 16 million and going quickly. So these last moments with our greatest generation, I come back to the word priceless, but that's what makes it priceless. And so that's where we're hoping that everybody can, beyond and in addition to the meaning of the holiday of remembering our fallen, is understanding that this generation that meant so much, these are our last moments, and just cherish it while we can, and do everything we can to educate the up and coming generations on what it meant, because it really meant everything to us for decades.
When you see those veterans and you listen to them, and even if you see them in a parade, it's like a one way for us to really almost reach out and touch and connect to that past. It's like this is a human materialization of what so many of us only know from history books or from films. We certainly, we didn't all live through it. Like you said, this was so long ago. And I've lost both my parents. So many of these World War II vets lived to be 100. And I have a theory about that. I'll run it past you. I think that they were involved in something so deeply meaningful, so deeply purposeful, not for themselves, but for the world, for freedom, for liberty, for other humans, for humanity. That almost, I don't know, that accomplishment makes them just strong survivors. I don't know. It's just something about that really stands out to me.
Absolutely. For a number of them, too, I've heard them say that it's an obligation or a mission to be able to be representing that generation. They know what it means. A few months ago, I was having dinner. You mentioned Masters of the Air with John Lucky Luckadoo. What a great name, Lucky Luckadoo. Lucky was a pilot in the 100th Bomb Group that the outfit portrayed in Masters of the Air, and one of the last few surviving pilots from that outfit. And I was lucky enough to sit down at dinner with him, just me and him and a couple of others. Of course, Lucky had 2 stiff scotches before me. I couldn't keep up with him, still sharp as a tack. But he looked me in the eye and said, we understand our obligation to represent that generation, and that he will continue to do it as long as he can. At age 102, that he will continue to try to do it as long as he possibly can. So I think that motivation to stand for that generation and who they were, to be there until the end. Many of them are determined to do it, and we're determined to be there until the end as well, to do everything we can to get those stories out.
So it is that time of year when grilling becomes more of the norm, and I've got the best grill to tell you about. It'll be the last one you ever buy. But by the way, you can try it before you buy it. Solaire infrared gas grills. You don't have to rely on takeout. You don't have to go out to your grill and have it heat for a half an hour before you cook. Solaire grills and their infrared gas grills are the hot, fast grills that heat up to 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes. And not just in the summer and spring, but in the dead of winter. And that kind of heat locks in the juices and the flavors and the char it leaves on your food. You'll never taste anything like it. A veteran-owned, multi-generational family business, each Solaire grill is made in the USA out of quality commercial-grade stainless steel. It will be the last one you ever buy, and you can try it before you buy it. Just visit besthotgrill.com for their free guide, how to choose the right infrared grill. From apartment balcony needs to backyard entertainment areas, besthotgrill.com. With a hot, fast Solaire infrared gas grill, you're going to want to grill every day. I do. I grill all the time now. Get your free guide at besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. When I've sat and watched Brothers in Arms and Masters of the Air, I laugh at myself and at so many people who, we're faced with decisions every day that seem monumental to us. And then you observe the decisions that these young men, 18 to 25 years old, or maybe older, had to make in a split second. And the things that they had to witness along the way. And it almost becomes laughable that we feel any stress at all, given what these guys went through. What is a story that you can tell that sort of is one that maybe has made you think, gosh, I have it easy, and these guys they're heroes. They're absolutely heroic.
Well, the one that the veteran who really meant more to us than any over the years. We've known so many, but there was the Doolittle raid on Japan, April 18th, 1942. That was the first attack back on Japan after Pearl Harbor. 18 bombers, 80 men, launched early from their aircraft carrier. They were detected. So they had to launch early, knowing they didn't have enough fuel to make it to Japan, then to bases over in China. They were given the opportunity to turn back. None of them did. All 80 of them went, got on board their plane, launched, knowing this could be a one-way trip to hit Japan. But they knew that they had to do something because this was the darkest part of the war. Made it to Japan, hit their targets. Short on fuel, had to bail out along the coast of China. Some crash landed, several died, several were captured, a few were executed, one died in prison. But Dick Cole, Richard E. Cole, was the co-pilot of Jimmy Doolittle on the raid. And he lived to be 103 years old, passed away 5 years ago, 2019. But to think of that, what they did, knowing this is a one-way trip, and just the dignity that he showed throughout. It was never about him. He knew he was there. He knew he was a part of something epic and special, and he was there to represent. But there was never this feeling that it was he was a hero or any of that. He was just there because he knew it was the right thing to do. Hearing stories like that are the ones that make you want to stand up a little bit taller and run through a brick wall for these guys, because you just see how special that they really were.
Wow, you have a great job. You have a great job. Before we finish, we've talked about Memorial Day. The anniversary of D-Day seems to me to be another underrated moment that we should celebrate. And this will be the 80th anniversary, as you've said. And it's hard to believe sometimes that much time has passed, and yet it really, in the scheme of things, is not a long period of time. What should we all kind of stop and think about when we think about D-Day?
I think when it's really looking back and remembering and honoring these sacrifices that generation did. I mean, they truly did save the world. We're thinking back about what could have happened, especially in these moments that we've known so many Holocaust survivors, and and so many, from decades ago where we said never again. And we look at the world today and we say,
I know.
we see some of these dark clouds that existed back then. I think we need to remember what they did, and we need to remember what that legacy was that they left, and to truly say never again. And that we have to remember to stand up for what's morally right, today as they did then. I think that's the important parallel we have to remember is don't forget who we are. We as Americans, we truly, for all of our troubles and problems and of course, no history is perfect, but we've stood for what is right more often than not. And we need to refine that sort of balance and center of remembering who we are.
Very well said. Free speech, free speech, free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist. It is the heart of our democracy. It's what we hold dear. It's the cornerstone that supports every freedom we cherish. But here we are in a digital age. And so discussions about wealth, our rights, our future, some of those are being silenced or overshadowed in the mainstream narratives you hear. And that leaves a lot of people feeling like they don't have a voice in these conversations that are critical to our financial independence and our security. And this is where Wealth Protection Research steps in. They've got a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research isn't a financial advisory firm. They're defenders of free speech. They are committed to giving voice to the silenced. Wealth Protection Research, they tirelessly seek out financial experts. Now, these are voices that challenge the prevailing narratives. I mean, we're heading into an uncertain 2024 election. It's crazy time. And Wealth Protection Research has created the 2024 Election Wealth Protection Report. This is a free report highlighting the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. Ideas maybe the mainstream media won't touch, but you can get this report completely free by texting IDEAS, IDEAS, to 76626. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act right now. Text IDEAS to 76626. Claim your free copy of this 2024 Election Protection Report so that you can widen the scope of what you hear. You can get the ideas the establishment doesn't think you can handle, but you know you can, and to take control of your financial destiny. Text IDEAS to 76626 to get your free copy now. I know a lot of people look down on Hollywood. They get ticked off at Hollywood for some of their very, very left-leaning stances and their statements and their politicizing award ceremonies and all of this. But there are a handful of people who support you in what you do and who really do show that they love America, that they are patriotic, that they do appreciate what is here. Who can you highlight for us that has helped in your endeavors?
Well, there are so many, and we've gotten really lucky to work with a lot of fun names from the world of entertainment over the years, and honestly, from all sides and backgrounds. It's something I found really kind of motivating, and I come back to the word aspiration. So many people have been drawn to spotlighting these stories, and I could go on down the list from, of course, the Clint Eastwoods and the Harrison Fords and the Morgan Freemans down to the current generations of the Chris Pratts, the Pines, the Evans. I mean, across the board. Of course, there is nobody like Gary Sinise. Gary Sinise is truly the one who has lived it every day for really since the foundation of his foundation about 15 years ago and even before. So Gary, of course, is that modern day Bob Hope, they call him. And we can't say enough about Bob, or about Gary, I'm sorry, about how great that he is. But truly, I've just found that you present these stories and so many people, ones you might not expect, say, you know what, that is really powerful and something I want to at least help tell. And that's another part of what gives me hope, is that it's a great unifier out there. These stories of history, of who we are the kind of things that really do bring us together across the board.
And I am grateful to technology because we didn't have that at the Revolution. We didn't have that at the Civil War, the way that we have it now. And we can actually capture the voices and see the faces. And it becomes more real to, I think, for our young people, that you're not looking at paintings or cartoon caricatures or drawings. You're hearing from the real deal. And I think that is so impactful. And that is not to downplay any of the previous stuff, because that is equally important. And we use what we can use in the way of history. But I think for people being able to relate to these faces, these voices, these stories, the way that they tell them is so cool. And I'm so glad that you exist in order to do this. And just tell people where they can check out some of these stories. I know the YouTube channel, but where can people find you?
Absolutely. Go to AmericanVeteranCenter.org. That's our website. Our YouTube channel, American Veterans Center, AVC Videos is the handle. Our Facebook page, between the two of them, we have about 1 million subscribers, about 400 million views between everything. Easy to find out there. Our obsession really right now is capturing these World War II stories and presenting them out there for people to see and watch, because you're exactly right. Nothing can replicate hearing from the principals from history who were there. And so capturing that and having it, you have no idea how it'll speak decades from now, but you get it on camera, you get it recorded, you put it out, and it will have that opportunity to speak. So that's really where our motivation is right now.
I love what you do. And I'm so grateful to be able to talk about this Memorial Day parade, which is coming up in a matter of days. The anniversary of D-Day, which people should look upon with reverence. Teach your kids, show them some of these videos. This is remarkable stuff. And I'm so appreciative to have you with us. He is Tim Holbert, president of American Veterans Center. On Memorial Day, tune into the parade. Anything you want to hint about that we should look forward to?
Just going to be a great commemoration. Come on out if you're around DC. Again, all the World War II vets, some fun celebrities, music, just that great family mix. Really going to be very special. And it's an honor to have brought the parade back. I guess that's my one thing, is that, the parade didn't exist for some 60 years since World War II until we brought it back about 20 years ago. And so come on out, help us keep it going for many more years to come. Bravo.
Hey, thank you so much for being with us. And I end my show every time saying these two things: be brave, do good. It doesn't mean you have to go jump out of a plane being brave. It just means doing something courageous, even something small, and do good. You all know what that means. And we will see you next time.